It's Friday. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to The Pulse. Independent, fearless, and credible journalism. That's what we stand for. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This afternoon on The Pulse, Speaker of Parliament fumes over the incessant harassment of journalists by the Ghana Police Service. We'll hear from Alban Bagbin, who has described the action of the Ghana Police Service as backward and an affront to media freedom.
Parliament need to focus on the National Media Commission. We need to urgently revise the law on the Media Commission.
Also saving Ghana's Meteorological Agency. This afternoon, we gain more understanding into the operations of the state agency, which is in a dire need for support, and the race for the hat. We'll tell you more about Joy Prime's campaign aimed at creating awareness on the healthy living and lifestyle as well. This and more will be coming your way on The Pulse. The Pulse is brought to you, as always, by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. We are streaming live as well this afternoon on YouTube and all of our social media handles at JoyNews on TV. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sugar. Stay for details. Well, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin is hitting hard at the Ghana Police Service over the recent arrest of journalists allegedly involved in publications of false news. Now, describing the conduct of the police service as backwardness, Speaker Alban Bagbin indicated that the swift arrest of these journalists is an affront to free speech. He adds that persons who feel slanted by a particular media publication should resort to the rule of law and not the use of force by the police service.
Oftentimes, in our quest as journalists to disseminate the information we have in a timely manner to beat the deadline set for us, we make some mistakes. Our information at times do not turn out to be entirely accurate. We end up making some misrepresentations, at times impinging on the integrity and reputation of others. The media space and Ghana's legal regime for the media anticipated this and has prescribed a way out of this challenge. That is why we have the National Media Commission, and Parliament need to focus on the National Media Commission. We need to urgently revise the law on the Media Commission to add some teeth and resources for the Commission to be effective. It's because of this challenge also that we have so many laws on speech. As a lawyer myself, in the early days of my practice and also my parliamentary life, I was compelled to take a number of media houses to court using the rule of law, not the rule of man.
Well, so that's the incensed Speaker Alban Bagbin speaking there in Parliament. Joining us now for a conversation on this is security analyst and fraud consultant Richard Kumado. Also, via Zoom is Adib Sani, who's as well a security analyst, helping us to understand all of this. Let me start off with you, Richard. We know that over the period, the Ghana Police Service has explained why it has gone after a number of media personalities on grounds of publication of false news. That's what the Ghana Police Service is indicating. Why is it the case that the Speaker would be describing this as an affront to free speech? Do you side with him in the first place?
Definitely, there's a complexity of what is happening. And what we don't do properly in this country is public education and public information management. and is fusing into the confusion in the public space. As somebody who has been a lawyer and a long-standing member of parliament, I can understand the pain and the anguish in his voice, but it's also important that we hear the call he's making that we need to make media houses responsible, and the media commission in general, we need to provide the resources and let them be in the capacity to check themselves. Other than that, people have the choice to either go to the court, or the police have a responsibility in maintaining law and order to take an action. And where there are excesses, we should be in a position to draw the attention of the police, but we should also not whip in the hands of the police in doing their statutory job.
And Adib Sani, when this started, of course, you had a reaction to this, indicating that the police must be cautious about the approach they are going on in terms of arresting people using the law on publication of false news. But how is this coming to you now that we know that the Speaker of Parliament is unhappy about the conduct of the Ghana Police Service?
Well, first of all, it is important to note that we are a country that is governed by the rule of law. We have processes, procedures to follow, even in making an arrest when someone falls foul of the law. But the question is, did the person perpetrate a crime or not? So it is important that we look at the merits of the cases before we jump onto the bandwagon to start, analyzing it. But it is also instructive to know that the police should not be given the free hand to make arrests as and when they will. So we don't have them going overboard and stifling free expression in the country, because so far, lately, the arrest that has happened, I must say, is quite disturbing, and it's making a lot of Ghanaians feel that there is a well-orchestrated culture of silence being perpetrated. I don't think that as a country with so much democratic tenets, we can afford to be silent about it.
Well, gentlemen, you need to hold on for me. In fact, this is just part of a broader conversation that we're having this afternoon on The Pulse. In fact, feeding into that broad narrative about police reforms and what it is that the IGP himself has been promising. He's been speaking just days before the Speaker of Parliament comes out, as we're hearing him, chiding the police over their substandard conduct. In fact, I'll read that to you, what it is that the IGP has been promising. He says that we are pleading with you, let go of our past and let us be. We understand we lost your trust, we lost your confidence and your respect, but we're going to bring them back. So please don't continue to judge us by our past, and by extension, even insult us, because this is the police we all have as a nation. And that's the assurance that we're obviously getting from the IGP himself, Dr. Dampare, on all that's been happening. In fact, he is giving an assurance, a firm assurance, that he would turn around the narrative around the Ghana Police Service. So, Richard, here we are. You've heard from the IGP, and then the Speaker is complaining. Are you certain that the Ghana Police Service will be able to achieve this target?
Definitely, when Dampare came, he improved the quality of policing a little bit. We are glad with it, and I'm happy with the words in the statement he had made, that is in recognition of the fact that they made certain mistakes, and they should be listening to the general public, who are key stakeholders in the job they do, particularly when it comes to crime fighting and prevention of crime. And to that extent, I want to believe Dampare what he's saying. But then, the confusion around the arrests they've made in recent times is something they need to put their feet together and clear the air. There are some other security agencies that are causing arrests or making the effect of arrest without the knowledge of the police. And it seems the police is fighting so hard to take responsibility for some of those actions. At the backdrop of the fact that the police is being cited against the general public, it's creating a disunity between what is happening in the general public and what the police want to do. In line with that, the Speaker of Parliament has weighed into the issue. Dampare will need to calm down his men. They will need to be sober about it and let objectivity and professionalism guide them. And that is the only way they will come to the conclusion that this is what we have done, and let us be judged by that.
I don't know if I could come in at this point, but Richard, it appears that the narrative has been made that simple. The fact that well, if you look at all of this has been happening to the Ghana Police Service, the fault is squarely laid at the doorsteps of the police service and no one else apart from the police. They're not acting in a vacuum, you agree?
Definitely, I agree with that one. And that is why responsibility is so much of important. They will need to take responsibility for their actions. And that comes with some level of accountability. And where they are wrong, they should say that we are wrong. And where they have done well, we should pat them at the back and say, we are commending you. They should look at what has happened within the last week or 2 weeks ago, in line with what they want to do, and let them be the judge where they will judge themselves, and the best reasoning will prevail.
Adib Sani, let me take your thoughts on this. Born again, that's the quote from the IGP. Are you seeing any changes in the approach of the police ever since the backlash on the kinds of arrests we are seeing on media personalities?
Well, last weekend I was at an event organized by a security training organization in Ghana, and my good brother, Mr. Kumado, was also there. We had COP Tabiri, and in my speech, I was quite categorical about the fact that 80% of the challenges of the Ghana Police Service has got to do with leadership. And with the right leadership in place, obviously you would make inroads. But if you have political chameleons at the helm of affairs, there's absolutely no way the police can be trusted by the people. And when you look closely at the 9 pillar principles of modern day policing, which serves as a benchmark, so far as modern day policing is concerned, consistent with best international practices, it's all about winning public favor. It's all about engendering your trust. Your relationship with the general population. And it also says that without the people believing in the work you do, there's absolutely no way the police can do their work.
It appears that if you look at
the IGP came,
right, and if you look at the framework of the law, it appears that the Ghana Police Service is helpless in terms of the issues surrounding political interference. The law, the way it's been crafted, obviously you can't take away the executive in terms of control of the Ghana Police Service. So that's a challenge, isn't it?
Well, it is a major challenge, and I do understand sometimes the difficult circumstances in which a lot of these officers find themselves in. But we have a Police Service Act 350 that is quite categorical about the work of the police. So the day you fall to a politician, then that day you fail to be a professional. So oblivion of the pressures that might come their way. I remember one time I spoke about the need for officers to stand up to politicians and tell them no. I got a call from a police friend of mine who's asked whether I would feed his family if he's no longer within the service. But we all saw what happened in Takoradi. The officer stood up, stood his grounds, and said, no, I'm not going to allow you, the so-called chairperson of the District Security Council, to, disrespect the law. And truly, in the end, who won? So if we have officers like him rising up to the occasion to say no to politicians, I'm sure politicians would also learn to keep their hands off, cases before the police.
Richard, let's look at some of these specific cases. In some of the publications we've seen, some of them even border on contents relating to coup d'etats. The recent one involving the NPP Bonahafo chairperson. In some of these instances, we see a clear case where there is alarm all over the place in terms of warmongering, and this should obviously concern the Ghana Police Service. So when they're moving quickly to pick up such persons, why should we then be worried about the professionalism of the Ghana Police Service? They're acting in line with duty, isn't it?
Definitely, they are acting in line with duty. They are human institutions. Definitely, there are going to be errors. What is important is to accept corporate and personal responsibility for their actions. What is also important is that they must enhance their performance levels by making sure that they apply themselves to the best standards locally and internationally. Considering the fact that we live in a West Africa region where the issues of coup d'etat and terrorism has become a major threat to us, people making statements in that regard will need to be circumspect and prudent. And that is also to say that the police acting, whether they are arresting or they are inviting people, will need to be objective and follow due procedure.
Right, but give us a picture. In terms of rating it, what would you want to see first on the front burner in terms of what it is that the Ghana Police Service would have to change if indeed they would have to meet the world standard?
Number one, their public engagement will need to be a bit more. and then more professionally engaging the general public. Number two, they will need to look at operational performances, where we can judge them based on their key performance operations in terms of operations. Then number three, security communication is something the police must take seriously. Then number four, explaining the tenets of what they do, follow due procedure, is what makes them superhuman beings. If they are able to follow these four things I've just enumerated, nobody will have an issue with the police. And the police, IGP Dan Parry, must step up and stand his grounds to say that I am a professional police officer and I do not succumb to any political pressure. And you will see them coming up so nicely, and they will be the loving boys of everybody. Until they are able to follow these 5 key points I've enumerated, they will have a long way to go.
Right, and what we need to also do is that, gentlemen, we need to consider the aspect of collaboration and coordination between the Ghana Police Service and the media as well. We'll talk about the best strategy that the police needs to adopt in this case. But Adib Sani, what's the topmost priority for you right now in terms of your concern of how the Ghana Police Service would have to reform its strategies?
Well, I think they should take a closer look at the training regime to go beyond officers just taught how to shoot, but rather include a lot more of the democratic policing element of overall policing. Police officers should learn to understand that if someone picks a phone and starts recording, it doesn't warrant you attack and beat the person. They should also learn how to de-escalate, because for most of the situation in which they find themselves, I think that there's always a window of opportunity for matters to be de-escalated, but because of the fact that they are not well trained, it becomes a bit of a problem. But most importantly, and stemming from my research I have done of various police departments all across the world, I found out that the most successful police departments are those in the Scandinavian countries. That is even prompting police officers to move without weapons. And one of the biggest things they had to do is to ensure accountability. In Ghana, it's 50-50, so to speak. When police officers do the wrong thing, there's always a tendency to cover up for 2 major reasons. 1, to ensure morale. 2, because you feel that when the information is out there, it will drag the police service into disrepute. So by ensuring accountability, you should also invariably be ensuring public trust and confidence. And I must say that is key element to dealing with the myriad of insecurity issues we face as a country.
So the setup is not as transparent as you would want it to be?
No, it's not as transparent, because usually what we do is an internal inquiry. Mostly some of these actions by some officers is pure criminality, and I would have expected that you make it as transparent as possible, or you let quite a comprehensive investigation to be conducted. But when it is done internally, it always leaves room for some manipulation and some expedience. Okay. So I think that it needs to be much more transparent than it is.
Okay, let's throw in more reactions to this. Fortunately, we're being joined by one man who was at the center of the police reform at the time he was in the service. The Honorable Peter Lonchini Tobo is joining as well, West MP. Now, of course, on the Interior Committee of Parliament. He understands a lot more of what happens with the Ghana Police Service. First of all, Honorable, welcome to the show. What's your take on the statement by the Speaker of Parliament, his concerns over the increasing harassment of journalists across the country? Is he exaggerating matters, or you agree with him?
Good afternoon, my brother Soga. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Great. I listened to the Speaker. I think that he has a very good point there for us to learn from. What the Speaker is basically saying, in some jurisdictions, before the police will effect an arrest, they would have done some background investigation. You know, normally in policing, what is the proper procedure in the international best accepted standard is that police has a duty primarily to prevent crime. If you fail to prevent it, then you try to detect it. And when you detect it, you investigate it to find out when it happened, who is involved, where did it happen, what happened, and how it happened, so that it will help you to prevent the next one from coming. So the Speaker of Parliament was virtually saying, if you are able to prevent crime, all these kinds of arrests that we are seeing will not happen. If you fail to prevent and they happen, and we want to detect it, let's investigate. You don't arrest somebody and go and find out it is proven that, oh, you said what the person said was false. And you go to investigate to realize that probably what the person said was true. What was the essence of the arrest? I remember when I was in Sudan, the first thing the police officer would do is to seek interpretation of the law or seek guidance from a state attorney. And that is why I always propose that every district in this country should have a district attorney. And they should help the police, guide the police to take action. Because sometimes when we arrest so many people, at the end of the day, we go to the court, and it's like we don't have enough evidence to prove it. People begin to think that we are just abusing power in order to punish people, or probably we are being politically motivated. But the speaker is saying, if we can follow international best practice, let's take our time, investigate matters that are reported to us, get some prima facie evidence, and then we'll take a bold step, if you even like, invite, and confront the person with the evidence, and charge the person and take the person to court. If we go that way, I am quite convinced that many of the issues that we are seeing springing up and police are arresting people, the arrest levels will be minimized.
Okay, you are an ex-service person, so you understand all that's happening now. Where do you lay the blame? At the doorstep of the IGP, or perhaps it is generally the case that the standards within the Ghana Police Service is falling?
The police is a cohesive arm of government, and the government senior legal advisor is the Attorney General. So the Attorney General, who is also a member of the Police Council, works in consultation with the IGP to ensure that law and order is maintained in the country. So I will lay the blame at the doorsteps of the Attorney General. The police can effect an arrest now, and the Attorney General will call. This is a misdemeanor. Please advise the complainant to go to court and file a civil suit. Please release him, and the police will take the necessary step to release the person. You see, it is the Attorney General's posture. Police do not prosecute people. That is what many Ghanaians do not understand. When the police are parading you before a court of competent jurisdiction, it's not the job of the police. They are only representing the Attorney General in doing that. If the Attorney General has enough attorney in the system, you will never find a police officer in court prosecuting anybody. The job of the police officer is to prevent crime. The job of the police officer is to detect it. And the job of the police officer is to investigate crime. When it passes the stage of investigation and is going to the court, it has nothing to do with the police. It all has to do with Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution that clearly states that it is the job of the Attorney General. So Attorney General is the one who directs how laws are enforced. But the police are there to ensure that the cohesive arm of government works. If the Attorney General is up and doing and is really serious that these trivial matters will be reduced, he will have a chat with the police and all these things will disappear.
Well, the reason why I'm actually asking this question is because earlier I brought in Adib Sani and then Richard Komanda who are still with us, sharing their thoughts on what we could do to reform the Ghana Police Service. In fact, the IGP, as we indicated, made these statements. Maybe you could have, once again, look at it on our screens now. The IGP assuring and promising that the police service we have now is not the same police service as we used to have over the years, and calling them virtually born again. That's the word he ascribes to. In terms of the assurances that we're getting from the IGP and what's happening now, there seems to be some disconnect. Where's that fault coming from?
Actually, there is no disconnect. The IGP is virtually saying that he has a vision to ensure that the Constitution is respected, the laws of Ghana are respected. Many Ghanaians have always said that if the laws of Ghana are working, who do you know I am? Do you know who you are dealing with? All these phrases will disappear in the system. All of us are equal under the law. The law is the master, period. So the IG is saying, please, the police service you are seeing under me, Dr. George Akufu-Dampari, I'm trying to let it be reborn. It's a born-again police organization. And I want the support of the public so that collectively, I am not an angel. If I falter, please draw my attention to positive criticism. But let's not allow the old things to happen. The status quo no longer has a core. Let's try as much as possible to bring policing to the doorstep of the ordinary people and let everybody be accountable in this country. That notwithstanding, I've always advised the police, if you enforce the law and create more chaos in society, then the purpose of the law is defeated. Law enforcement is supposed to promote maintenance, to maintain law and order, to maintain order in society. But if the enforcement rather creates chaos, you have to sit back and look at one, your modus operandi in terms of enforcing the law, and also the thinking of the public. You need to carry the public along, and that's what we call policing by consent. It doesn't matter how you feel about a particular law that is being breached. If enforcing it will not carry the public along, be very careful, because when the police and the public are disconnected, the police becomes very ineffective.
Obviously, gentlemen, this conversation will have to continue sometime later. But well, let me just pick up one more thing before we wrap up. And first of all, from you, Richard, here we are. We need to make progress. That there are calls as to how we could form maybe a mechanism between the Ghana Police Service and the media fraternity, so we don't have this persistent or what looks like a persistent attack or arrest of personnel. How do we appropriately deal with this? Do we form some mechanisms or perhaps put in place some laws that will check this?
Then we can't go for law. But I think engagement between the media houses and the media commission in general with the Ghana Police Service could lead us to a situation where there will be some level of education, some level of awareness, and our individual and collective responsibilities will be enhanced. In that way, we will be civil towards one another, and we will see ourselves as working together to develop this country, where the police are playing their law enforcement role, and the media houses or the journalists or those within the media environment are also doing their very well in order to promote the image of this country. And in so doing, there'll be shared responsibility and there'll be shared accountability, and we will not be crashing against one another. I think the issues here is that we are too emotional about things and we are too in a hurry to pin one another down. And that is not helping us, irrespective of the fact that we have various roles to play. It is only one Ghana we have. And for me, that has always been my issue, that there should be more engagement between the police and the interested groups they need in this country.
And a quick one.
Adib, for you, how do we deal with this?
Okay, so I think the police should stop being reactive. They should stop being social media police and get out there and get the real criminals. But we need to focus more on proactive policing, and that can also happen with deeper collaboration, particularly between the police and the media. I remember some time ago, the police set up a complaints unit for the media. I don't know what has become of it, but if we encourage it and make it a reporting hub of some sort for media personnel who feel wronged by the police, I think that can help. And like I indicated earlier, accountability is also key in building trust and confidence in the police service.
For you, Honorable Tobu, what will be the solution to all of this?
Right there. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm asking about the solution. So where do we go from here?
The solution. The police service is evolving. There are so many changes in the world, and the police service is, of course, responding to the changes, changes in Ghana in particular. So let all of us have an open mind and have the police engage us, and let's fashion out the way. How do we have policing effective enough and our rights also respected? So let's collectively promote our rights and responsibilities, and let all of us, including the police, be accountable to the law and to the people.
Wow, West MP Peter Lonchine-Tobu joining us there. Also Richard Kumado, a security and fraud consultant. Adib Sani is also a security analyst, all sharing their thoughts on police reforms. We can now take you to Parliament. We understand that there's a lot of development there. Indeed, there's a bit of an update to the demand by some 4 members of Parliament on the New Patriotic Party side, demanding for a further probe into circumstances leading to the death of the late John Evans Atamils, the former president of Ghana. We can now take you to Parliament. My colleague Parker Wilson is there, has more updates as well on what's happening on the case of Sarah Adjoa Safo. Parker, if you can hear me, first of all, brief us on the latest with regard to the probe into the death of former President John Evans Mills.
Now, Blessed, you remember that yesterday I indicated to our viewers that for every private member's motion, there should be stated ground for why you want Parliament to expend resources to investigate and probe whatever issue that you have decided to engage the attention on. We can talk about the one Okuja Black filed about the foreign trips of the president and also the minority on the election violence, the 2020 election violence. Now, today it is imagined that the 4 NPP MPs who filed the private members' motion to investigate the death of Officer Mills, 2 out of the 4 have denied knowledge of assenting their signature to this private member's motion. In effect, all they are saying is that they are not consulted, they have no knowledge, and that they should be taken off the private member's motion. I have with me the Member of Parliament for Bandai and, of course, the Deputy Minority Chief Whip, Ahmed Ibrahim, with me. Honorable, thank you very much. You are making a serious allegation this afternoon that 2 out of the 4 MPP MPs have denied knowledge of the private member's motion. These 2 we are talking about, who are they, sir?
Wilson, let me say a very good evening to your cherished listeners. You were there when I asked the Honorable MP, Noy, who categorically stated that he has no knowledge of the motion. Right. And therefore, they've written to their leadership to strike their names out of that motion. And before I spoke to Noy, I called Honorable OPK, right. David Ansopo, the Honorable Member for Praiso. He also was categorical that he has no knowledge of such a motion, and that somebody used their names, he and Ninoy. So Dennis Ansopo and Ninoy, the MP for Tema Central, the MP from Praiso and the MP for Tema Central have spoken to me, and you yourself, you were there. You saw the MP for Tema Central. He is telling me that he has no knowledge of the motion and that somebody took their names with that signature. So I followed up to the speaker's, Right Honorable Speaker's office to go and have a look at those who signed or appended their signatures on the motion. To my surprise, the names Dennis Oksepokun was there, Ninoy Note Tema Central was also there, and Habib Ibrahim was also there, and Frank Anodompre was also there. However, it was only the signature of Frank Anodompre that was appended to the signature, to the motion. The 3 other MPs did not sign. So which confirmed the statement being made by the MP from Praiso and the MP for Tema Central that they did not append their signature to any motion. It is true.
But since the leadership has filed a motion like that, is it mandatory? Is it compulsory that every member would have to sign this document?
This raises matters of perjury and impersonation. If the MP for Tema Central, who relate to the late Professor Moss anyway, whose name is being used on a motion for investigation that he has no knowledge of, this is tantamount to perjury and impersonation. And I believe the House as a whole must investigate into that act. And secondly, the 2 MPs
you're calling for an investigation into this matter, how these 2 other MPs were added to the motion without their knowledge. Is that what you're saying?
Politicians in Ghana have deficit in terms of trust. And this was compounded when the member for Domi Kwabenya, somebody was brought to come on vote on his behalf, which the ranking member of Foreign Affairs raised. That matter has not been brought to finality. Right. Then today, what we are hearing is that there is impersonation, whereby people's representatives names are used on the motion that they are not privy to. If you go to social media, you will see posts like the 4 stupid fools. And for the people of Praiso to see their MP's name being labeled and Peter being labeled as a fool, that he has no interest in their development. All he's interested in is to be doing post-mortem on somebody that he does not immediately to. Then for the people of Tema Central to see their MP's picture and name on the social media, be insulted. If your MP is insulted, you also are insulted. Meanwhile, these 2 MPs have no knowledge of what is being happening. So it means the person who wrote their names on the motion must be brought to book. And I think this matter is not only impersonation, it's not only perjury, it goes beyond that.
Well, just for clarity, so we know that Anodompre is the one who left this motion. I therefore suggested that he'll be held before the House to answer questions. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying more than that. The 2 the Praiso MP and the Tema Central MP have written to Anodompre and Chairman Sambos to take their names out of such a frivolous and vexatious motion. So if backbenchers are able to angrily write to their leadership, going against their leadership on something wrong that their leadership have done, it brings the image of the house into disrepute. And what caused it? If this leadership on the majority are able to do wrong things like this on behalf of the people they are leading, and this is breach of trust. So we have to investigate into this and know how we can prevent and avert such matters from happening in this parliament again. So they will not only be held before the privileges committee, there will be a discussion at the leadership level, and we in minority will not allow this one. When the Adwa Safu's own came and we didn't investigate, today you see what they are doing. They are signing motions on behalf of other people, falsifying people's names and people's image. And this will compound the credibility and integrity deficit, the trust deficit that we have as a house.
Honorable, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. So, Blessed, that's the Deputy Minority Chief Whip, and his concerns are quite simple, that Frank Anadompre, who is the Member of Parliament for Nsawam Adredri, will be hauled before the Privileges Committee to answer questions on why he added names of his colleagues who have no knowledge of this particular private member's motion bill to prove the demise of the late President, John Evans Atombills.
And we also need to touch on the issue of the Domi Kwabinya MP, Sarah Adwa Safo. We understand that after today, officially it will mean that she's not been present in Parliament or present for parliamentary duties for 15 working days. There are implications to that. What more do we know?
That's correct, Blessed. So Parliament resumed this year sitting on 25th of January 2022. And you know that Parliament works within 4 days in a week. If you do the mathematics, today is actually 15 days. And order 15 is clear, 15.2 is clear that an MP, if you absent yourself from the chamber, you need permission. Now, if you go to order 16, now it talks about even if you are given the permission, you need to justify why you should absent yourself from the chamber. Then order 17 now takes you to sanctions if you do not have any permission at all. So your conduct will be referred to the Privileges Committee for sanction. But I must say that I am getting information within the camp of the NPP that on Tuesday they will invoke order 16 to ensure that Sarah Adwa Safo is compelled to return to Ghana and continue her parliamentary duties. And I must say that in Parliament, I mean, sometimes when colleagues are not around, they call their colleagues to just write their names for them. Since he left, no member of the NPP has written his name. In fact, they have refused to write his name and capture her name as present in the chamber. And that is why today we are learning that it is 15 working days. So on Tuesday, we know, or we picked information, that the NPP, some members of the NPP who are peeved and incensed over the conduct of their colleague Adwa Safo will invoke order 16 and 17 and refer her conduct to the Privileges Committee. If the committee establishes that indeed her absence is not without justifiable cause, then a recommendation per the practice and the rules of this House will be made to the effect that a seat should be declared vacant in compliance with the standing orders of this House.
And I'm grateful for the updates that you're giving me now. Fortunately, there are implications, obviously, if the seat of the Domi Kwabinya MP is declared vacant. That will obviously have some implications also for the majority side in Parliament. Joining us now, but Parker, you're still with us. Just before I bring in my guest, we understand that there's another development also on the NIA. What more is happening with regard to the registration exercise?
Raised concerns about some of his constituents who are yet to acquire the Ghana card. And if you recall, Blessed, that the Vice President consistently has made the point that the Ghana card would be used as a form of registration going forward into the 2024 election. And so it is quite surprising that we are in 2022, just about a year or 2 years away from that. Some constituents within the Tamale North constituency do not have the Ghana card. And it is not peculiar to them alone. Even here in Accra, You see the long queues. People are still yet to get the Ghana card. And so the NIA boss or officials have been programmed before Parliament. In fact, they've been summoned actually to come and answer questions on the ongoing registration. What is happening? How many people have been registered? Whether indeed the claims that they will be used as a form of registration going into the 2024 election are true or not. So we are expecting the NIA official, including Kenneth himself, to be in Parliament on Wednesday to answer every parliamentary question from every member of Parliament who has concerns and issue with the ongoing process.
Well, let's have some discussion on this. Joining us from on Zoom is Dr. Rashid Draman with the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Also joining us is the Executive Director for the Parliamentary Network Africa, Sami Obeng. They are all joining us via Zoom. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. First of all, we know that the governing side is obviously worried about the continuous absence of the Domi Kwabinya MP. But now that officially, after 15 days, she's liable to some sanctions. So what is it that you predict? First of all, let me start off with you, Sami. What do you see happening or unfolding from next week if we don't see the Domi Kwabinya MP appear in Parliament?
Well, it is interesting that for the very first time, this conversation about a member of Parliament being absent for the 15 sitting days is being brought up by people, or is intended to be brought up by people who are within the members' own caucus. That's a very interesting development. But yes, our constitution is very clear. Under Article 97, which speaks about the grounds on which a member can vacate or must vacate the seat, it talks about how if a member absents himself or herself without permission, and that's the catchword, in writing of the speaker for 15 sitting days in a particular meeting, then the matter must be brought to the attention of the Privileges Committee, Parliamentary Privileges Committee, if there is no reasonable explanation by that particular member. And many years, we have actually spoken about this issue of members absenting themselves from the House and how it affects parliamentary business. We've spoken about how members must stick to the responsibilities that they have in attending to parliamentary business. So if this will be a test case for us to see the extent to which they're
well, we seem to be having a challenge there, but let's also bring in Dr. Rashid Draman, who's also on with us. And Doc, you've also been monitoring activities in Parliament. What do you have to say really about the continuous absence of this MP, and what are the likely implications, not just for the MP, but also the House as well? This is the Pulse. Thanks for staying with us here on the JoyNews channel. We'll return with more stories. And welcome back to the Pulse. Sami Obeng, fortunately, is joining us back. Unfortunately, we had some connection challenges there. But Sami, you're making the point about what the standing orders of Parliament has to say about the continuous absence of a member of Parliament beyond 15 working days.
Parker, gave indications on what the standing orders have got.
Right.
I want to elevate this beyond the standing orders and bring it even into the fold of the constitution of the land. The Constitution says in Article 97, when it talks about tenure of office of members, in 97(1)(c), that if a member absents himself or herself without permission in writing of the Speaker and is unable to offer reasonable explanation for why he or she is absent to the Privileges Committee from 15 sitting days of a particular meeting during a period that Parliament has been summoned, then of course it could have dire consequences on this particular member of Parliament. So the process is very clear constitutionally. If one has absented himself or herself from Parliament for 15 sitting days or more, which in the case of Madam Adjoa Safo she has, then the matter is supposed to be brought up for the attention of the Privileges Committee, or to be referred to the Privileges Committee. Then, of course, once referred to the Privileges Committee, the member of Parliament in question will have to come explain or give reasonable cause why there should be, no punitive measures against it. The committee will then bring its report to Parliament, and the process continues. But I was making the point that we have sat for too long as a country and have allowed elected members of parliament in the past. We know of our colleagues, parliamentary monitoring organizations in Ghana who have published, reports on MPs' absenteeisms. Unfortunately, successive parliaments have not taken these things seriously, and now it has come to bite.
So what will this mean for the governing side? Obviously, this is a time where the majority side is attempting to amass and to try and make sure that it has its numbers in place to pass the controversial subject, the bill on e-transactions. That's critical. The numbers are critical to government. So at this point where you have one of the MPs, their seats likely to be declared vacant, that would obviously spell doom for them, isn't it?
Well, obviously, strategy-wise, of course, the majority side in parliament knows the consequences of this. And for me, like many other people who have been speaking about this matter over the years, I don't think that the sympathy should go to whether the majority side will have consequences or not have consequences. I am more concerned and worried about the people of Dom Kwabenya, who for 15 sitting days do not have a representative in parliament representing their interest. I am interested in how, in the past, Parliament has sat aloof and allowed some of these things to go wrong and have not dealt with it decisively. I am interested in the precedents that this can set, which may probably help us to deal with the issue of absenteeism in Parliament.
So as we wrap up, you want the Speaker to be tougher on MPs and not just Sarah Joseph?
Well, we have always maintained that members of Parliament who absent themselves without permission, who do not come to Parliament, who do not perform the duties for which they have been elected, must be dealt with. There must be tougher sanctions for such, behavior. And so, yes, Parliament should be monitoring consistently those who are not doing well in relation to attending to Parliament's plenary committee sittings and all of that, and deal with these matters decisively. All
right, and I'm grateful. That's Sami Obeng, Executive Director for Parliamentary Network Africa. This afternoon, also, the Coalition of Concerned Drivers have gone ahead with its planned increment in transport fares, despite an earlier call for it to delay the move by GPRTU. Yesterday, the group, which is made up of the Ghana Commuter Drivers Association, National Concerned Drivers Association, and the True Drivers Union, announced that it will effect a 30% upward adjustment in the fares on Thursday. But the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, asked commuters to disregard the threats of increment by the minority transport unions. Meanwhile, in the Ashanti region today, the committed drivers have applied the adjustment to the displeasure of those within the GPRTU group who are accusing their leaders of siding with government to delay the increment. My colleague Prince Sapia has been speaking to some of them.
The Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, has announced an increment in transport fares effective Saturday, February 26th. On the contrary, the Commercial Private Transport Operators has announced that effective February 18th, transport fares would be increased by 30%. This, they say, would save the transport business from collapsing, given the upward adjustment in fuel prices. I am here at Tech Junction to engage with some drivers to find out from them their position on these two announcements and how fuel prices are affecting their daily business.
The government is tidying up our hands and hitting us our stomachs that we shouldn't say again. How is it possible? You've been increasing fuel prices for so long, and for the past almost 1 year, we've never increased transportation. In this February, fuel prices have increased 3 times. How is it possible? You always increase fuel without our information, but if our peoples, I mean those who lead the GPRT and other transport groups want to increase fuel, increase fares, you say they should come and collaborate with you, which is sit down with you before. But if you people are increasing fuel, you do not sit down with us.
Oh, me say bibia emra efa no na kwanso anaye. Ti de bia GPRT for na the price ba. Enti no yemomodian say e betwen wo mo na.
The GPRTU always bring the new fares, so we will wait for them.
Enough from me is you see, I can't am top there, and saying crime to 1.6. You say 2 million. I'm talking. On trotron, I'm able station to station in Kobe, and It's a 400 difference. That just I mean, the medieval to be beard, and a swat yamamin.
Miss Remeka said, "Give I two for you and phobia among one drivers." It was 10 beyond Omnia Bino, one. It's among one drivers, almost Nima driver because who has spare passer. You two petrol one, a can be the ingredient of the top.
The JPRTU is not helping us because it appears they connive with the government and it's not helping we the drivers.
It's here trying to cast a train for GP2 for young phobia or mobile because all more you be favor or money abandoning them. You need some more muscadi check for more evening. GP2 for more. So what I say, in Tenodia, and I'm getting Ukraine. In fact, any more than
since they say, fees also much more clutch, still are young Lord Fame. Says in case of Emphas or Mukas or Muchamp when I still are on Betty Akuma. Because Midland come to me and say, you're too much.
The fuel prices always increases simultaneously with the transport fares. If they don't increase it, it will affect us.
Because it's here no shot. Who's here Juma Point? Sika would be quite you says no cacao Kufia Kudino. I times 2 would be quite to fuel. And to remember, dear, one can say, and Chama 1 day kilometers are a bit because what can't move that. It was said, come with my and see 2 nights. You know, move pepe.
Ah, we Christians is Siana, our Tomra, because in Yesu, I say, to me, Faupe and to Lord Faith.
They should help increase the transport fares.
Na Yesu, Yenim Yobekama, so Mun 2 Manasa, Mun Lord Faith, fuel price, no, Montiso.
Well, we know that it is a state agency that provides arguably the most critical forecast, yet it is in a dire need for support. Today on The Pulse, we threw a spotlight on the Ghana Meteorological Agency as we discuss their operations, and then the latest agitations that we're hearing of have generated a wider conversation about, first of all, the branch of science that focuses on forecasting. Fortunately, we've been joined by Joseph Portofi, who is the Director, Forecasting and Synoptic Meteorology at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Such a pleasure, sir, to have you in our studios. So first of all, just before we understand your operations, what can you tell us about the mood in your offices now? Obviously, your staff have been raising some concerns for days now. What can you say briefly about that as we move into
what I can say is that our staffs are on strike. And then as I'm coming from the office currently, it is only management who are in the office. Almost all the staff are not in the office across the country.
Which means that we don't have anyone to, advise us if we're going to have some forecast, some storms, weather storms or whatever it is. That's the implication.
Yeah, currently, yes.
So no one to work with. And for how long will this take? Do we have any fair?
We were in the management meeting with the union and then the deputy minister when I came here. So I hope that by the close of the day, something fruitful will come out of it, because the union put certain things, and if those demands, some of them can be met, some of them maybe from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday going. But there are 2 things. If one of them is able to be met, then definitely they might call off.
After this meeting that we're talking about.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I would have to prolong this a bit. You don't speak for the group, we need to state that. But there are implications if we don't have your colleagues support your activities as management. What are the implications if we don't have them return, and what are your fears generally?
Very dire consequences, because we are part of World Meteorological Organization of the UN, and it is mandatory on us to observe the weather and then report the weather every 3 hours throughout the country. So every 3 hourly, there is what we call synoptic data that we observed, we record, and then we push into the global system. And if they are not working, we'll lose data for that, and the whole world will also suffer. It is very dire consequence. In certain places, certain airlines cannot even come, because when you come currently, you are doing so at your own risk.
That's how dangerous it is.
Yes.
So as we speak, all airlines coming into Ghana, if you're coming
at your own
risk.
Yes.
But that could put a lot of people in danger.
That is it. Because our men are not providing that service. Wherever they are getting the service from, we don't know. But if they are doing so, they are doing so at their own risk. If something happens, we don't have any document to go and back them with.
Give us a breakdown into what we term synoptic data. I mean, there are a lot of people who are out there who do not necessarily know what the technicalities of it, what it involves. But you say you release this every 3 hours.
Yeah.
What is entailed in the process, and what does it? What kind of data do you provide?
Yeah, synoptic data is to observe all the weather parameters: pressure, relative humidity, sunshine, dew points, sunshine duration, solar radiation, incoming radiation, soil temperature, and almost all the weather parameters that you can think of. We need to observe it, and the observer or the technical officer need to record. Apparently, they record every hourly.
Okay, but then you publish every
3 hourly.
Right. So that's what even your staff help you to do. I mean, it's a collective,
it's a collective
work that you do.
Yes.
So I'm assuming, and a lot of people have heard of GMET. We sometimes even see your reports out there. Some criticize you for the late report and all of that, but yet we seem to have a gap in communication. Is it the case that the concerns that your staff have could be a reason, part of the bigger challenge that is confronting the organization?
When we talk, yes and no, because it all boils on funds, and we believe that if those that we render service for are able to do their bit of the bargain, we will not reach where we are now, because there are a lot of people, clients that we provide services for, and they need to pay for it. But unfortunately, most of them are not paying for it.
So a lot of people are owing you, if we could put it that way.
If I mention it, if I mention it, you might even doubt that you can check.
So there's a lot of amount.
As currently, I can talk about over 80 million Ghana cedis.
That's shocking. 80 million Ghana cedis. And why are you not going after these institutions?
Most of them are government agencies.
Right.
So you see, government agencies, government taking government to court, that sort of thing. But I think the new board coming in now have to strategize and find a way of getting that in. The ministers have talked. Our minister has been very magnanimous. He has been able to, he even passed the act that means to get these monies. But how to collect the money now has become the challenge. And the workers are agitating because I think their working conditions, when you go to our offices in Adan, in Akuse, in Abetifi, in Bole, in Wa, we have all offices around the country. When you go there and they give you a chair, you might not even sit down in the office. And people are working there. Some of the instruments are obsolete. Yet people are doing their best. So if you don't fix those things, then they become dejected.
Right.
And that is what...
Could it not be the case that we don't know much more about your services? And that's why all of this is happening. Because we don't see you, and I'm using that word advisedly, being proactive in sending caution out there. We see that once in a blue.
As for the cautions, with what we have at the headquarters, I can tell you that wherever in the world is going to rain, I'll be able to tell you.
Right.
So we do that. It is only at times when we send it to the media houses, then maybe they are doing their own programs. They don't want us to bring that program in. And then they will maybe publish it at the end of their show that they are running. And that is what is a challenge for us. But currently, we have the state-of-the-art equipment at the headquarters that should be able to deliver very accurate and then prompt forecast for the nation.
Okay, so with this 80 million Ghana cedis, I believe, that we're talking about, if you should have this 80 million Ghana cedis refunded or perhaps paid to you because it's something you've worked for, what would that mean for the Ghana Meteorological
It will change the face of Ghana Meteorological Agency. We can even use some to rebrand. Currently, I can tell you that the attrition of the agency is very high.
Staff are leaving?
Seriously. Even last 2 weeks, about 2 of them have left. You train staff, competent ones, you give them master's degrees, even some go as far as PhD. And when they come on, then they leave. And those are some of the things that is happening. So when we get that money today, it will change the face of Ghana.
Okay, so what services do you normally provide with this amount of money? What kind of services?
Oh, we have a lot of services that we provide. People may not know.
Yeah. If you could just break it down. And that's why I'm happy you are here. Because for a long time now, and I'm sure you get this reaction anytime you talk to people. You say I work with GMET, they don't really understand.
Oh, will it rain? Will it not rain?
Yeah, precisely. That has been the perception out there. So, what are some of the services that you render and what you do particularly, and reasons why we're not seeing state agencies pay this 80%?
To start with, let me talk about energy. For VRA to manage the water levels, the inflows of water into the dam, they depends on us weekly. Every week, we give them the forecast, and also we collect data on the river boundaries. We have stations along those areas that we collect data, that we give it to them, and that is what they put in their model and know the amount of water that will be coming into the dam. VRA and the Bui Dam, we do for them every week. When we leave there, we come to Ghana Maritime Authority. Ghana Maritime Authority are the sole custodians of the ocean.
Territorial, yeah.
Yes, we provide them weather services. If you bring your rice and you are offloading the rice and it rains on the rice, you go for your insurance company. So we need to protect those things. So we give them weather forecast.
Right.
When it comes to Ministry of Agriculture, as a body, as a unit, we provide them with those things. We have peasant farmers. Currently, we have about 7,000 peasant farmers on our list. That we make sure that we provide them with forecasts so that they will know at least when to spray their farm, when to water, when to weed, when to plant, and all those things. We do that. Construction companies.
Yeah.
Yes, if you are going to do a bridge or something, you need to know the flow of those areas. We provide them with all those services. We also collect data.
Right.
And that data can be used for so many things. In health, if you want to do the outbreak of meningitis in the north, it is temperature related.
Yeah.
So you need to get the data, run a model, and see whether this kind of temperature you are experiencing and the relative humidity in the atmosphere will propagate this meningitis. Our biggest client is what we call the aviation industry. As I said earlier, if we don't issue, in the aviation industry, we have about 4 or 5 elements that we do. We issue what we call terminal aerodrome forecast TAF. And the TAF, we do it every 4 hourly. We update it. Then we have what we call significant met weather. That one, we have satellite receiving equipment.
Right.
That tells us where there are pockets of thunderstorms that will bring lightning, or there are what we call clear air turbulence and that sort of thing.
So you check that for that for the flights that are arriving into the country.
Issued it. We just issued it to civil aviation, and they only transmit to the pilot.
Right.
You know, when you are traveling, you are landing, they tell you the temperature of this is that. Yeah. We send those information.
So now that you're not there, it means that obviously
nothing is
the flights wouldn't have this critical.
Yes.
So you could that could lead to some.
Not only that. You know, when the aircraft is flying, it needs certain information. You need temperature, you need relative humidity, you even need the speed of the wind, the direction of the wind. Because for an aircraft to take off, you need to calculate the type of wind. Right. When you get a type of wind, if it is a tailwind, if it is a tailwind, fine. If it is a headwind, it means you are going like this, the wind is going against you. Yeah. So it will retard your speed. So you have to take a lot of fuel. So they need to do all those calculations, and we have to provide that information for you to know the number of passengers to take, and number of fuel to take. And if all those things are not done, and you are flying, then you are putting your passengers.
So is it the case that you're not mindful of the dangers of your staff withdrawing their services?
We are very mindful. We know the implications. We know I don't want to talk about
maybe but obviously it's a concern, because if this is what's going to happen now, I'm sure a lot of people out there will be worried for their relatives who are arriving in the country as we speak.
Yes, there should be some of us are not even sleeping since yesterday when the union declared a strike.
Right.
I left the office around 7:38. By 8 I was there. We started a meeting around 9 with the minister, and they are still there.
Okay, but if you're owed about 80 million Ghana cedis, the argument then would be that, and the services you mentioned here, quite a range here. VRA, you have the Peasant Farmers Ministry of Agric, and then the Maritime Authority as well. These are institutions that
our artisanal fishermen,
right, who are using your services. But you claim that the biggest data,
yes, because
the biggest data obviously will be the aviation industry. So you mean to say that the Ghana Airports Company owes the Ghana Meteorological Agency?
Seriously, I can say on all authority that I have.
How much are we looking at, if you're willing to put that out there? The Ghana Airports Company.
The two of them owes us that 80 million.
So the significant portion of the 80 million is as a result of the failure of the Ghana Airport,
I mentioned now,
right,
is
to pay
Ghana Airport Company Limited and then Ghana Civil Aviation Authority.
What has been the level of engagement between the Civil Aviation Authority and GMET? Have you engaged them over the years over your concerns?
We've engaged. The last money they sent to us somewhere middle of last year was about I think $50,000 or so.
And it's still woefully inadequate to cater for the cost.
You cannot do anything.
Right.
You cannot do anything. The running cost of our operations cannot do anything. Despite the fact that government pays our salary. We are not talking about salary.
Yeah. But you're talking about the services that you render. But is this not questioning the management, those in management, the fact that you've allowed this to go on for some time, you're not going after the debtors, you're not writing letters to the Ghana Airports Company to pay the amount?
We've done all those things. We've brought the ministers in, we've spoken to their minister, their board, we've done everything. But we hope that maybe something will come out of this.
So how is this impacting generally the other offices that you have and the other departments that you have? Is that the reason why you don't have enough logistics, for instance, or the tools to continue to do your work?
That's what I said. When you go to some of our offices, right, and they give you a chair, the chair is not even there for you to sit down. And some of the equipment, they just need maybe painting or some screw or some ink. If somebody called me that I need ink, we have what we call the radiograph.
Right.
And radiograph, it uses ink. It's a small ink. It will not cost more than 300 per bottle. But we don't have it. And they are calling from all stations. And all these stations must pay utilities. All this last year, our electricity, the whole place was disconnected. The minister have to come in before the electricity company reconnected us.
Oh, you were disconnected recently?
Yes, we were disconnected.
So that's how bad the situation is.
Yes.
Do you feel that the department, because a lot of people don't know about your activities, you've been neglected for some time over the years? And this is not just focused on any particular regime, but it appears that because the public is obviously not aware of your activities, we don't really pay attention to GMET.
Yeah, I would say yes or no, because frankly speaking, when it comes to weather here, it's predictable. I mean, if you wake up, you know the rainy season, you know the Harmattan season, and that sort of thing. You don't care about it.
Yeah.
It is when you go to the temperate regions that the weather can change. You'll be there, and then all of a sudden it started raining. Right. And forecasting there is also very easy. But we do a lot of things more than what people thought we have been doing.
Right.
A whole lot of things. We are in the, how do we call it? We have collaborators with international bodies that we need to provide our services to them for them to be able to do what they want to do. Right. If we don't get the data and you are running a model over Africa and Ghana data is not there, it will not be complete.
How much time do you have? I'm asking this because you are still being owed heavily. 80 million cedis is a lot of money. How much time do you have in terms of having to make up for the inadequate logistics that you are working with now?
I think the union will have been best to talk about these things. But being in management at times is very hectic.
Yeah.
We are stretched to the limit. I could tell you yesterday our minister was speaking on I think on a certain, when they inaugurated the board, and he was charging the board that our quality management system, it took us so many years to be able to achieve that certificate. And it is mandatory for every Met agency that is providing aeronautical services to go through the quality management system. And we achieved it in 2019. Auditors came. Of 2020, we did another, how do we call it? Audit. Yeah. We went through. Last year, we did the audit. We couldn't pay the amount of the auditors up to today. So the certificate had been withdrawn.
Ghana's quality management certificate has been withdrawn?
Yes, as I'm speaking to you. It has been withdrawn.
So what will be the effect on GMET then?
Internationally, it doesn't speak good of us. Because I quite remember the president was saying that he wants to make Kotoka International Airport the hub for West Africa, and if not Africa. And those are some of the things, indicators, that the world will measure us with. And if your quality management system has been withdrawn, then what's the quality of the service you are providing when it comes to meteorology at the airport?
It's as though you're performing without any certification. That's the implication.
And those are some of the things that the workers are not happy with. And this, I personally, I'm in charge of the quality management system. I wrote to Civil Aviation. I even sent them the receipts to pay the consultants and the certification group from UK. They have not done it.
Are you on the lookout for support from well-wishers and the private sector? Because if you look at the institutions that you've listed here, you deal sometimes with construction firms. These are private organizations.
Yeah, so when they come,
are you on the lookout?
Yeah, when they come,
but now you're in dire need of funds. Would you appeal to them and ask them to come to your aid?
Well, yes, I would be very glad if people would take up some of our stations, our synoptic stations, and then refurbish them. We'll be very, very glad, because it's very appalling, especially when you look at where people live and work. Some of them, when it's raining, they can't sit in the office. And these structures were built so many years ago, and those are the structures that we are using. But the good news is that there is something coming, what we call retooling of GMET.
It's an elaborate program that you're rolling out. Retooling of GMET. That's the campaign you're staging now.
What
are we going to see?
Yes, a private company will look for a loan. Then we will use whatever we are supposed to get from our clients. Then they will refurbish equipment and refurbish our offices for us. And
so you're going. It's as though you're going for a PPP arrangement. So you're having a private investor take. Are they taking over GMET?
No.
They're just coming to invest.
Just to retool.
Okay. At what cost, and what will be the cost to the state, or maybe to the investor? Right.
The cost to GMET.
Right.
Because we know we have some revenue flows that will be coming. So they will, based upon that, they can use those things to service.
Okay, so this will be sort of a pre-financing arrangement.
Perfect.
But here's the case that you're being owed 80 million Ghana cedis. You're not able to recover that fund, and yet you're expecting a private organization to come through with their fund, invest in you, and later on the payment comes. Are you sure that you'll not be building up more costs?
Fortunately for us, I think there's a very good will from the government, because it is in this year's budget, policy budget for the 2022. So we believe that the Ministry of Finance will be able to sit down with our debtors and fashion out something.
Some strategy.
Once the Ministry of Finance has put it in the budget, he can use the whip from them, and then
okay, so I want to believe this is all part of the retooling GMET campaign. What about public confidence, the increased engagement? Obviously, the public need to know more about your activities. What factors and what spaces are you making for public engagement, further public engagement, or constant communication? It appears that's one of your weaknesses. Part of the reasons why the public really don't know about your activities.
I think I've been here. Joy has been a station that I've been
a number of times.
Right. Almost among all the stations. Right. And then any opportunity that we get, we try to tell people our existence and what we do, and then how people should also support us. Yes, it's difficult to do some forecast here, but what I can say is that whatever we have and the kind of human resource that we have can match to anywhere. That is why our workers are being poached. They come, some go back to UK, some go back to Kenya, South Africa, India, they be going. So they should have confidence in us that for protecting life and property for the nation, we are prepared and we are willing, and we'll give them accurate forecasts. We also have some certain challenges. People want to say that, oh yes, if I say it should rain, in Accra. Accra is big. And it rains in, let's say, rain in airports. It doesn't rain in Kanishi. Then there's a problem. We can do all those things, but it comes with resources. It comes with high-powered computers. To be able to do point-to-point forecasts, you need to run the models. Currently, as I'm speaking, the only model that we run, the WAF model that we run, the system is even down.
So you may not be able to forecast in the coming days.
No. As a forecast, we'll be doing, because fortunately for us, we belong to World Meteorological Organization.
Okay. So you rely on some of these.
Yes. So we rely on European Meteorological Satellite, European Meteorological Weather Forecast Station. We rely on France, Meteo France. Okay. We rely on what do you call it? Met Office, which is UK, and then we also rely on NOAA. NOAA is the US type. So we use almost all their models to do our forecast.
And all of these things are not your system. Your system is down.
You know, we rely on all these things and then add our local one to it before we come out with the forecast.
But now your local one is down.
Yes.
So if your local one is down,
so we still
that will test the accuracy of the forecast that you'd be making.
No, what we do is we downscale all those that I mentioned. So we have a lot. As for product, we have a lot of products that if you give to a forecaster, he might not even be able to assess all the product before he comes out with its forecast. But we have a lot of them. But you see, when you do your own homegrown model, it's able to pick certain things that the global one is not able to pick. And those are some of the challenges that we are having.
But I'm sure that as you're embarking on this retooling GMET campaign, you'd obviously make room for
all this is to be solved.
But we know that one of the issues we have in Accra is perennial flooding as well. How is GMET preparing this time around to give adequate information ahead of time so that we don't have this recurrence of the incident?
Yes, I can say that by next week or next 2 weeks, our seasonal forecast will come out. And the seasonal forecast will tell us the amount of rains that we'll have in those areas. So we'll tell the public, and then we'll continue to monitor. Our offices are 24/7. We have 22 of them across the country. They are 24/7. They are around 24/7. So at any cost, any time, we'll be able to observe the weather and let the public know. At certain times, yes, around 10 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock, when you observe something and you issue. You see,
so is that to say we can take your word for it? We can rely on you this year?
Yes, currently with the latest scarce resources that we have, we've tried to come out with some apps and things. So we'll be launching what we call the Weather Information Dissemination System. It has a voice over. We are trying, it's money. You need to translate some of these forecasts into local languages. You need to go to the School of Languages, get experts to translate it. And it's not only one day translate it. Every day they need to do the translation. So you need a constant flow of resources to be able to sort these things out. Currently, we have, how do we call it, European Union and African Union. Yes, we'll be able to develop a USSD code. When you dial *920, at least you get a 3-4 days weather forecast over the ocean.
Okay, so that's what you're planning to do. So that
what I'm saying
now there'll be constant.
Some of them we are doing it.
Okay, some of them you're doing.
We are doing it.
But you are planning to scale it up. Scale information and to proactively distribute information ahead of time. The concern is, well, you need confidence in the information that you're also putting out there. The public confidence and trust is very much key. But why is it that when you sometimes forecast, predict that it will rain, it doesn't happen, and then you get a lot of flags for that?
I think people are still in their olden days.
Oh, really?
Very, very well. But I think for the past 5, 6, 7 years now, we've come on top of our issues.
Are you sure about this?
I am in charge of forecast.
You're on top of your game. It's no longer the old GMET that we have.
No, because
when you say it, it happens.
Perfectly. It's some 7, 10 years ago, but currently, I can put my neck on the plate, and I can tell you that at least not 80-85% of our forecast is accurate. Because what we also do, we also mark ourselves. The forecasters.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we do. No, every week. we are what to call child discussion. So Monday when we come, the forecaster will lead us and tell us all what will happen.
All that you predicted, and whether or not it
so
indeed
the following
happened.
week, we'll come and check. So we'll take the check fast check. We call it fast check. We'll check it. And we also we don't only do, how do we call it? We have two ways of doing it.
Okay.
We have just the qualitative one, and we have quantitative one.
Right.
Where we put it into what we call a model. It runs it, and it comes out with the results for us.
Right. So you know your score as of now. What's your rate of average rate?
That's
of
why I said for now, when it comes to forecasting,
right,
especially public weather forecast, I can give ourselves 85 too.
That's wonderful.
Yes,
85%.
Yes, when you go to see
and yet you're on strike, so that will be the confidence will be affected for a number of days.
Confidence.
But anyway,
we hope this strike.
But we need to go. What's your message to the public as we wrap up this conversation?
What I want to say is that it's rather unfortunate that this strike has come, but we are working hard to resolve some of the issues for the workers. They are still in a crunch meeting.
Right.
Yes. Monday, they'll be moving to the Labour Commission. Some of them are beyond our ministry
control.
So they have to go there, and then people should have patience with us and support us. Because I believe the fight that we are fighting today will go a long way to bring confidence back, go a long way to help us give accurate and prompt forecasts for the nation.
Mr. Tete Potofi, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us here on the Pulse, but we need to also bring you this. Chief Justice Ening Yeboah is urging the youth to use legitimate means to demand solutions to challenges confronting them. There have been concerns in recent times about students resorting to actually rioting on some campuses when they are displeased with university policy. Speaking at the installation of the new hall master for Commonwealth Hall Thursday, the Chief Justice recounted his own experience of demanding solutions during his years as a student. There's more in the following report.
Current and old students grace the colorful occasion.
I always have a deep sense of nostalgia when I step in Commonwealth Hall. And yet my memories of the first year when I stepped in this hall are as vivid as just yesterday. I landed in Commonwealth Hall by mistake.
At a point, I was lead candidate for chief vandal for this great hall of Commonwealth. But when they took me to Father Bacchus and the shrine, I was torn between being announced the first Muslim chief vandal.
New Hall Master Dr. Francis Ajay pledged to deal with the challenges facing the hall.
A few months ago, I shared my vision for Commonwealth Hall with the fellows as lifting the image of the hall to levels beyond where our forebears have left it for us. Through transparent administration and sound governance practices that will make all its stakeholders feel valued and respected. This vision is anchored on three levers. One, consolidating our gains by maintaining our identity as Commonwealth Hall. Learning lessons from our history to improve our successes. And third one is to improve students' experiences on campus. For our staff, creating avenues to motivate you, enhancing professional work attitude and performance for growth and development are integral to our medium-term outlook. We will hopefully attain this by ensuring greater discipline and professionalism among you.
Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Nanaba Amfo, assured management is poised to address the accommodation challenges confronting the school.
Undeniably, student accommodation is one of the major challenges that we are facing as a university. On the particular matter of the Commonwealth Hall Annex, Council has taken up that matter and is in communication with the Old Vandal Association. My role as Vice Chancellor would be to liaise between all the interested parties and to ensure that all concerns are legitimately addressed.
Chief Justice Kwesi Ening Yeboah took the opportunity to advise students on how to press home demand for solutions.
So my passionate plea to you, especially the young ones, there are so many ways of redressing obvious wrongs which may happen on the university campus. Please, as a community, we are bound by laws and regulations. my appeal to you is to try as much as possible to have means of redressing these wrongs. When we were here, Dr. Banfo happened to be our hall master. Professor Akwisa is here. He can bear with me. We complained bitterly, Doc, our food is not good. Please, can you spare us some time and come and taste it so that you... He said, oh, you are eating the best of food on the campus. So he was not prepared to come. So what did we do? One day we packed every food that they had prepared. We seized every food from the kitchen, put them on trucks, wheelbarrows, straight to the university hospital where he was working. I said, Prof, if you claim the food is good, you eat everything. We left everything there and came back. Then the next day, improvement. The next day, improvement.
The installation ceremony kickstarts a series of activities marking the hall's annual week celebration. Ifwa Aprekua's report read to you.
It's such a great time to feel proud as a Vandal if you are out there. But
hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the sports segment here on the JoyNews Pulse with me, Oreku Ampofo. Well, we're talking about one thing, what everyone is talking about ahead of the weekend, and that's the super clash between Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko, two of the biggest clubs in the country, going head-to-head in the Ghana Premier League Sunday afternoon. And we're here to preview that big game to you live here on the JoyNews channel. Of course, we're not doing it without you today. We're opening phone lines as well. And so we should be opening it in just a few seconds. But the number to call is on your screen, should be on your screen by now, 030-2211-691 or 030-2211-692. You can call and let us know your predictions. Heart of Oak or Kotoko, which one are you for and who wins on Sunday? And the phone lines are open right now. But as we await your calls, joining me in studio is Joy Sports, Joel Botte. When these two sides meet, is usually a conversation about, you know, who's going to win the league. This time, 12 points separate the two teams. Do you think Asante Kotoko have already run away with the league, or Hearts could pull a miracle starting from Sunday?
It's dependent on so many factors, but last time, as I said, form doesn't really affect this game, and Kotoko, who all admit, are doing extremely well in the league this season. Let me take you back to 2018 when Kotoko met Hearts in Kumasi, and Hearts weren't doing so well that season. They actually finished either 9th or 12th, but Kotoko were 4th that season. Kotoko lost to Hearts 1-0 in Kumasi, and that result was quite shocking to many. And that gives you a clear picture of how sometimes things can go south or things can go in favor of you, depending on how you line up and you attack the game. This is a very crucial derby, and I believe that Hearts should take their chances very well, because I believe Kofi Koji is not doing so bad. He's been a man up top that has been trying for them. And Mbella, on the other hand, for Kotoko, has been in superb form as well. It's dependent on how I believe Samobwedu and Prosper would line up, and that will really make the difference for the two squads.
Okay, well, I'll come back to you, Joe, but we have a couple of callers. Isaac from Opera Square. Isaac, thanks for joining us. Are you Phobia or you're Fabulous?
Okay, well, I'll come back to you, Joe, but we have a couple.
Hi, Isaac. Okay, when you do call, kindly turn down the volume of your TV set, otherwise it will be difficult for us to communicate and we'll be hearing feedback. We have Maunyo, sorry, from Oyibi. Maunyo, do you belong to Heart of Oak or Asante Kotoko? Fabulous. Are you very confident? That's Fabio Gama. He's the only white person I can think of in that Asante Kotoko team. He's recovering from an injury, and he had a bit of relapse this week. It's unclear whether he would be past fit to play the game, but I don't think Prosper would be rushing him anytime soon, considering how well the team has performed without him. I think we have Kofi from Ho on the phone line. Kofi, so far we've had a Heart of Oak fan and a Kotoko fan. Where do you belong? Lines on Sunday, or you think it's one of those games where it belongs to an outsider, that someone that no one is really focusing on would end up scoring the goal and being the difference maker?
Yeah, I believe this is one of those games where it will be called by fine margins, and we may expect an unusual scorer of the goal. We've seen games where Justice Blay has come in to score. We've seen games where Banyos has coming to score. For example, last season, many didn't expect Banya to be the goal scorer, but he came up with that goal to give Hearts the 1-0 win over Kotoko. I'm really interested in this game because Kofi Koji, however, even though he has started most of the games, he's had, because of Hart's inconsistency, it has affected him and how he's been able to make his impact in the game. But I believe he can still make some impact up top as a big man, as a target man up top.
And well, the number to call is on your screen right now, Super Clash, Kotoko versus Hearts. We've had the Kotoko fans outnumber the Heart of Oak fans. And so if you are a Heart of Oak fan at home, call and let me know your predictions. Who knows? Whoever wins this prediction battle might win on Sunday. Someone is saying that if a white man starts for Kotoko, that could mean that Heart of Oak do win. So, you know, there are so many beliefs when it comes to the Super Clash. And I have Kwesi from Kintampo. Kwesi, hope you're well. Are you also a Kotoko fan like everyone else who's calling?
I'm a Kotoko fan.
Oh, okay. So you guys are outnumbering Heart of Oak. How do you feel heading into Sunday?
Okay, today, Sunday clash, we have Lewandowski and...
Title race over. If you look at the dynamics of the league table, Heart of Oak down there, probably not even title contenders as things stand. Kotoko leading Bechin by 6 points and have a game in hand. After this game in hand is the end of the first round. The least that they can lead the table by 6 points, even if they lose on Sunday. Do you think that wraps up the league, or something could possibly happen in the second round?
I believe things can happen in the second round. We have 10 plus games to go in the second round, and I believe that the way the league is structured, you could lead with 3 points and still be overtaken in 2 games, depending on how results go for you. We've seen it happen over the years where teams have led and then getting close to winning the title at the end of the season, they are overtaken. These changes do happen, and it's the Ghana Premier League. It's very competitive. Most of the teams are trying to achieve their goals of reaching the top 4 or even winning the title. So I don't believe it's over just in the first round. The second round will be caught with a surprise. You may see teams that are in the relegation zone rise up to the middle or even climb up to getting close to the top. So I believe things can change.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. I'll come back to you for predictions before we wrap up. But I'll be picking my final 2 calls. Someone from Osu. Someone, you sound like you'd be a Heart of Oak fan. Is it true? Someone, he was predicting Heart of Oak would win. I have Dari from Mamprobi. I hope you're well. You're my final caller. Do you fall as a Heart of Oak fan, or you're on the other side?
I want to know if Max TV will show it.
For him, he's not a Heart of Oak fan or a Kotoko fan. He's a Max TV fan. But before we wrap up, Joe, just a prediction from you in terms of who wins on Sunday.
Sunday, I believe it will be a low-scoring game. So I'm going for either a 1-1 draw or a goalless draw.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Joel. And also thank you to all of you at home who picked up your phones to call us and give your predictions. If you're trying and not getting, we do apologize for that. We'll make time for your voices to be heard maybe another time. My name is Oreko Ampofo. And remember, on Sunday, Heart of Oak face Asante Kotoko at the Accra Sports Stadium at 3 p.m. And so you can get some tickets if you want to watch it live and, you know, feel the action. But you will be able to get updates as well on our social media handle at JoySportsGH on Twitter. Or you can also check out our website, myjoyonline.com/sports, for previews that we do have for those games. We do have one on the Cameroonian connection and also other preview articles that you can read and get your appetite whet for that big game on Sunday. And that's how we're wrapping up the sport here.
And most definitely, the sports team will be back next week to bring you some analysis on the Super Clash. But that will be all for the polls this afternoon. Don't forget to log on to myjoyonline.com. That's our hub for all of the updates on our running stories. And also follow us on our social media handles at JoyNews on TV. My personal handle is at Blessed Sudan. Until then, we'll see you again next time. Next is Let's Talk.